The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Standing by the cross of Jesus were his mother and his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother and the disciple there were he loved, he said to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." Then he said to the disciple, "Behold your mother." And from that hour, the disciple took her into his home. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise you, Lord Jesus Christ. I have to say that as a Catholic, we love to meditate on suffering. Yeah? Even though we don't like it, we still love talking and meditating on suffering. And so today we celebrate Our Lady of Sorrows, just right after the exaltation of the cross. When you talk about the cross, you have to talking about Mary or something. And so, how can Mary endure suffering that much? Out of what? What inside her? Commitment, faith, hope, love. What inside of Mary, her mind, her heart, her soul, that she could do that? And then if we can just ask the same question to each one of us here today, because I know a lot of us today, we suffer a lot, and we endure a lot of sufferings. Some woman told me that you never stop to be a mother, because you give birth to your son or to your daughter, you raise them up, and then you worry about their grown up, and then they marry, and then after that you take care of their children. And so you constantly taking care of your family as a woman. How could you do that? Out of what? And today I put it in the social media a question, because I thought that the reading today was about the greatest spiritual gifts that St. Paul wanted to ask us to strive for. And I believe that spiritual gift, the greatest one, is love. Only out of love that we could endure almost anything. Especially love one another. But for St. Paul though, St. Paul, we need to have faith, fidelity to God. And so I hope that today when we celebrate and reflect on the sorrows of Mary, we learn two things. That Mary had a strong, sturdy, consistent faith in God and God's providence and God's grace and God's help. That's the number one. If we don't have that, forget it. Even though we try to love one another, and to some point of our limit, we say that's enough. You know, I'm thinking about some couple today, when they date, they promise one another beautifully, everything. And then when they get married, it's still beautiful. But after like 1 year or 2 years or 5 years, they get tired of each other. And something to the point they say, it's like a book I already read so many times. I know exactly from cover to cover what is the story in this book. And they just give up to one another. They don't want to discover more, because I don't think they have enough faith in God. And the second one that I believe, and I'm reading the spirituality of, or the book of St. Paul now, the second one is very important, is the love for one another. When we have that faith in God, that spells out into the love of one another. And that's why Mary is willing to go as far as she could just to fulfill that, to love one another. And the hardest one is to live with someone that you never lived with. And Mary today had that commission from Jesus from the cross. Woman, take this guy home. And my beloved one, take your mom home. Live together. Recreate the new rhythm of your life. Try to live together and see. And sometimes we have a hard time to live together. We can do a lot by ourselves, but somehow we don't know how to live and work together. And so today we are invited to embrace not just one another's success, but also one another's challenges, one another's crosses, one another's wounds and afflictions, one another's weaknesses, one another's even addictions, one another's sinfulness. And so let us ask God to give us that two things, faith and love. With that, we absolutely will have hope in there. May God bless us today. We already has a lot of intercession for the novena, so we will continue our offering today.